everyone, and welcome back to my true crime channel. Today I want to give you my thoughts and views and a brief analysis of part 2 of Candus Bly's interview with Chris from the interview room. The first part of the interview was at the waterhole where Summer had been swimming earlier on in the day when she goes missing, and part 2 was going round the house where Summer lived with her family, and it was a real eye-opener. So I think the first thing most people must have noticed is the level of animals that they have at the house. And what I've always thought is that the dogs would have alerted if there'd been an abductor or if there'd actually been an abduction. And when Chris pulls up, there are dogs everywhere barking. So there's no way, in my opinion, guys, that an abductor could have got on that property without those dogs alerting. Now, clearly Candus must be an animal lover because there were kittens, there were dogs, apparently there were puppies somewhere. There were animals everywhere, so that was interesting. We got to see Summer's bedroom, we got to see the swing, we got to see the entire property, and it was really interesting to see where Summer Wells lived. Now, one of the first things that I want to bring up that I thought was interesting, and to me, I know you're not all going to agree, but a bit of a red flag, was that Candus didn't want Chris to go in Don's shed. Now, he asked what the building was or the structure. She said it was Don's shed where he keeps his tools and that the boys aren't allowed to go in there. She didn't sort of refuse at first, but then she sort of pretty much says no, and he doesn't push her on it. But what I find weird is why didn't she want him to look in there? She said it was a mess, but no offence, parts of the house were a bit of a mess. So why not let him look in the shed? Was there something in there she didn't want him to see? Now, a few people have said that perhaps Don was hiding out in the shed. No idea whether that's true. Some people think maybe Summer is in the shed, but I'm pretty sure that the police would have looked in there by now. So maybe the shed was just a mess and she didn't want him to look, but she got very cagey about it, and I did find it a bit strange. So Candus runs through the events of the day, how they got home, how the grandma, or Summer's grandma, her mother's shopping and hers were separated. Grandma goes back to her trailer to put her shopping away. Summer and her mother, Candus, go to put their shopping away. The boys are all sat around the table watching apparently YouTube on the telly, and it just seems like a normal day. So one particular sentence that Candus said, and it's more of a phrase, and I just want to make sure I get it right, was that they were doing normal stuff and it was around the house that they would normally do, or in the house that they would normally do. Now, there was no need to say normal. There was no need to say what you would normally do, because clearly this wasn't a normal day. Summer was abducted, apparently. So I've often found when looking at previous statements in true crime cases, people use the word normal or normally to normalise a situation that is far from normal. And the reason they do that is to make it sound like it was a normal day, when really they know and we know it wasn't, to try and make it sound better, to try and make it sound, you know, especially if they did have something to do with their daughter's disappearance, that they didn't, and to make the abduction theory seem more plausible. But there was no need to use the word normal or normally. And for me, and as always, guys, it's just my opinion here, but that raised a bit of a red flag for me, I'm afraid. So Candus said that there'd been some workmen working up by the trees to the side of the property and claimed that maybe they could have, or one of the workmen could have abducted Summer. And she sort of says that there are thousands of possibilities for what might have happened, but whether she means thousands of possibilities of who could have abducted Summer, I presume she doesn't mean of theories of what could have happened, because they're only going with the abduction theory. So interestingly, Candus also confirms that Summer was sleeping against the milk bottles when they got home, but that apparently Hunter had the milk around his feet in the car until they dropped him home, and then the milk was put in the back with Summer, I believe, when Hunter exits the car. All a bit of a strange story. Didn't sit well with me when she talked about that, and I'm still not certain Summer was asleep in that picture, but who knows. Something that I thought was interesting, but it could just be because she has a very high level of pets. Chris asked Candus, how many dogs do you have on the property? And she answered very honestly, she didn't know. There was a lot of animals on that property. There were dogs everywhere, there were kittens everywhere. I'm not against people having a lot of animals. I'm a big animal lover, but I certainly couldn't handle having that level of animals in my own home, especially with 4 young children. But I'm not saying they're not being looked after properly. I'm not here to judge on that, but I did find the level of animals strange. But what I find more strange is that those dogs didn't alert to Summer being abducted. So apparently, Summer's scent was last smelt by sniffer dogs on a dog trail in the woods. When Chris asked Candus where that dog trail was, she said she didn't know, but when it was spoken about before, it was almost as if Candus and Don definitely knew where the dog trail was. Now, it could be they've never seen it, but it seems strange that when it was spoken about before, it was almost as if they were aware where it was, and then when she was questioned on it, she didn't seem to know, which seemed a bit weird to me. So we get to see the swing that Summer plays on, that I think features in some of the TikTok videos that Candus has put out of her swinging on the swing. Clearly she loved the swing. I've always wondered about the swing because it was mentioned in the first interview that the parents, Don and Candus, gave. And it was also something that Hunter mentioned, that she would never disappear from the swing. So it makes you wonder, was she on the swing? Could an accident have happened on the swing? Could she have swung and fallen off and hit her head? I'm not sure, but the swing seems to have some sort of relevance in this story, but what it is, I can't figure out. So as always, guys, I love you sharing your thoughts and comments with me on this. I know not everyone's going to agree with me, and that's fine. I enjoy reading comments that aren't necessarily the same thoughts as mine. I like to know what you all think, whether it's the same opinion as mine or not, but whether it's the same opinion as mine or not, what do you think about the swing? Do you think it's got any relevance? Has it sort of raised a red flag for you that it's been mentioned quite a few times, including by Hunter and Candus and Don in the first interview? And do you think now that another possible theory here could be that Summer had an accident on that swing? So another statement Candus made that was of interest to me, and I found interesting and maybe disturbing at the same time, was that she said nobody could get in or out of the property. I don't know if she means the entirety of the property, the outside part, but the property at least is what she's saying. Now, maybe the property's been made more secure since Summer's abduction, or is it that the property was always secure? And if so, how the hell did the abductor get in? So interestingly, we do hear Candus's entire account of what happened when they got home the day Summer disappeared, the circumstances of the shopping being unpacked, the flowers being planted in the pots, Summer sitting on some stairs playing with her toys. A normal day, according to Candus, but a lot of it doesn't add up to me. There are so many unanswered questions. There are a lot of possible theories, and an abduction is one. It's not one that I buy, but it is still plausible. The person could have been lying in wait in that basement, but with all those dogs, I can't see how anyone got in and out of that property without those dogs barking. Doesn't add up to me. So regarding Candus's body language, I didn't feel she was as closed off as she was towards the end of the last interview, but I still got the impression certain things are being held back. So Candus's body language did seem to clam up a bit, in my opinion, once she has the conversation with Chris about the shed and that he can't look in the shed. I'm not too sure now I think about it why she wouldn't let him look in Don's shed. If it was just that it was in a bit of a mess and it had some, power tools or tools, gardening tools, that sort of stuff in it, I'm not sure why she didn't want him to look in there. It is a little suspicious, but at the end of the day, maybe it's just some private things she doesn't want him to see. Who could say? Just going back to the shed, I have noticed a lot of people in comments on my videos and on other people's YouTube channels, on their comment sections, that people are thinking that the whole shed thing's a bit dodgy. I'm not too sure about it. It is slightly dodgy and suspicious, but it could just be that it's a private space that she doesn't want people to look in. Or you could look at it that there's something in there she doesn't want Chris to see. So another statement of concern from Candus for me, and again, as always, guys, it's just my opinion, but when I heard Candus say, I literally walked over here and watched her walk right in terms of Summer walking in the house up until the point, she disappears. So the last time she ever sees Summer, she's, alluding that she literally comes out, stood where they were stood, watched her walk in. What I didn't like about that sentence was the use of the word literally. There was no need to use the word. She was showing Chris exactly where she was stood, so there was no need to use that word about being literal. Now, I'm not saying everybody that uses that word is being deceptive at all times. It's just a word to look out for. People often overemphasize something with words like literally or literal just to make it seem like it did happen when maybe it didn't. So overall, I found the interview that Chris did with Candus extremely interesting. It was interesting to see the property, to see inside, to see the situation of where the house is compared to a road. You could hear cars going by, so the abduction theory is vaguely plausible in my opinion, but I still don't buy it. But now I can see and hear that there are cars going by. It is still certainly a possibility. It's not one that I'm believing, but again, it's just my thoughts. I know not everyone's going to agree. But what do you think? Do you think it is more plausible that there could have been an abduction now that you can hear that there are cars going past the property on a road behind some trees? Do you think, as Candus claimed, that maybe one of the roadmen, I think there was maybe some road works or works on trees going on in the distance a couple of days before Summer went missing? Could someone there have spotted Summer and one of these workmen took her? I mean, it's all very plausible. Candus was saying to Chris during the interview that there are thousands of possibilities. Now, I presume she means in terms of who could have abducted Summer, not thousands of possibilities as to what could have happened to her, as they're only going with the abduction theory. But I don't know. I'm still confused about this case. I do still feel the parents have got guilty knowledge, but as I've always said, I don't think that's of any harm coming to Summer on purpose. I think that there is guilty knowledge of an accident that was covered up. As always, I could be wrong. You know, I'm not a mind reader. I just look at people's statements. I listen to the words that they use. I listen to the language that they choose to use. I watch their body language and I make my assessments from that. I do have another statement analysis video that I'm going to be bringing out soon, and it is for Don. He gave a telephone interview on Monday the 12th of July, and I have analysed the phone call in full, which was about a 16 or 17 minute phone call. I'm hoping to have that video out for you by the end of the week, guys. Apologies to some of my older subscribers, and I don't mean in age, people that have been subscribed to my channel for quite a while. There was one particular subscriber that said she was really looking forward to this video. I'm so sorry it's taken me nearly a fortnight to get it out for you, but they always take a bit longer to do those ones because it takes quite a while to look through, to do my analysis and to get the video done. But I will have it out for you in the next few days. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. As always, guys, please pop your comments below. I've really enjoyed reading your thoughts on this case. So many people have had views and opinions that I haven't thought of. You know, theories of what could have happened to Summer, ones that I've never thought of. You know, certain names being mentioned that I've never heard of in relation to sort of criminals in the local area and cases of other missing children in the local area, which I've been extremely interested to hear about. So please keep sharing your thoughts with me. Keep sharing your thoughts with each other. Keep Summer Wells in your hearts, guys, because I'm still praying for that little girl to be found safe and well. I know it's been 6 weeks now, but let's hope, let's pray, let's hope and hope and hope that Summer is found soon. So there are a few other things that I just want to bring to your attentions, guys, at the end of my video here. I did notice what looks to be a camera or a video camera in Summer's room. If you look now, I've just put an arrow where it is. Obviously, I can't be certain that it is a camera, but there's something up there that's some sort of equipment that needs a plug. And it does look a little bit like a camera. There's something on one of the other walls that could also be a camera, but it's a lot smaller. Obviously, I can't be sure, but I've had quite a lot of people commenting on it because they've spotted it too. And if it is a camera, why is there a camera in a 5-year-old girl's room? Candus does say something about that she shared the room with another child that was 9. I believe that is her brother. But even still, whether it's a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old sharing a bedroom, why on earth would there be a camera there? Doesn't make much sense to me. I'm really hoping that it's not a camera and that it's some sort of other equipment that isn't a camera and that I'm wrong and other people are wrong, but who could say? And then the weirdness continues. I noticed there was a TV on in the background that appeared to have women, quite a lot of women, dancing around and from what I could see, taking off their tops. One of them definitely takes off their tops. Obviously, I can't be sure what sort of TV program this is. It could well have been a music video, but it definitely looks rather dodgy to me. Now, like I said, it could just be a music video. A lot of music videos these days are pretty raunchy, pretty rude. Could just be that it's some sort of party on the telly, but I do find it a bit weird that a TV near a child's room would have something on it such as that. I appreciate none of the children are there, so if Candus and Don were there watching something dodgy on the telly, that's entirely up to them, and if their children aren't there, it's not really a problem. But I did think it was really weird if it was something dodgy, and that's all I'm going to call it. Why on earth it was left on the telly when Chris was there to interview Candus? Weird. So a couple of other thoughts just to share with you guys, just why they're in my brain. I did notice that whilst Candus took Chris down to Summer's bedroom and she was showing him around, she then exits out of a door to the side of Summer's bedroom, looks at Chris and says, "I don't recall if this was locked or not." And that, as I said, is the door that leads out of Summer's bedroom in the basement of the house to the outside of the property. And the reason I want to bring that up to you guys is I think you would remember whether it was locked or not. The fact that you don't covers you if it wasn't locked and Summer was abducted. You're sort of covering your ass. That's just my opinion, guys, obviously. As I always say, just my opinion.
But what I don't like about that is the word recall. I'm not saying that it's always used by liars, but often when we are looking at statements in true crime cases, recall, the word recall is used, and it is often rather dodgy. Now, the reason I say that is most people use the word think or remember. They would say, I don't remember if this was locked or not, or I'm not sure, or I don't think this was locked. You know, you could use quite a few different things. Recall is often used by people with guilty knowledge. It's to try and take away any emphasis of really the fact she could have left the door unlocked and therefore someone was abducted and it's partly her fault for being negligent. Not only that, the use of the word recall is rather vague and it's not as sort of certain as the word remember or think. And if you often hear statements of guilty people, the word recall often pops up. Like I said, guys, I'm not saying that everyone that uses that word in their vocabulary is guilty of something, but often it's a red flag. And I'm afraid to say, guys, it's another red flag here for me for Candus Bly. So there's just one last thought that I want to share with you guys in this particular video that I'm doing today. Was one of the last sentences and wording that Candus used at the very end of the interview with Chris from the interview room. He asks if there's anything she wants to tell the public or ask the public at the end of the interview. And I'm not going to read her entire statement, but the bit that shocked me was where she said she was, so that's was, not is. She was very precious to me. Now, I noted that throughout this interview, Candus did not refer to her daughter Summer in the past tense. She slips up here at the end. I think she may have done once or twice throughout the interview, but certainly not as many times as she did in the first interview. I must say I didn't really notice it until this end part. There was very much an emphasis on was. She was very precious to me. Now, yeah, it could just be a slip of the tongue, but really, if you don't think your daughter's deceased, and you don't think they've come to any harm, it would be she is very precious to me, not she was. So I've got to call that out, guys. I do find that that's a red flag. As always, I know you're not all going to agree with me, but I'm just sharing my thoughts and views with you and telling it as I see it.
As always, guys, I hope you're all well. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are in the world, and I will be back very soon with another true crime video. Bye for now.